Have you heard the stories of Hollywood stars whose careers burned bright, yet ended with finality? Their cinematic legacies are filled with unforgettable moments, but behind the glamour lay challenges that went unseen. We are going to rediscover their stories. Carol Landis. Carol Landis quickly demonstrated a flair for performance. Her father's departure left a significant impact on her early life, forcing her and her siblings to adapt to changing circumstances. At 15, she entered her first marriage, which ended as swiftly as it began. Following that rocky start, she pursued opportunities in dance and singing, eventually earning a contract at Warner Brothers. Although she often played minor parts in the late 1930s, her role as Loana in 1 Million BC brought her new attention. She would appear in nearly 50 films, with her beauty frequently overshadowing her talent in the eyes of critics. Away from the screen, her life was marked by failed marriages and ongoing health challenges. In 1948, her struggles culminated in an overdose of medication at her Brentwood Heights home, forever marking the end of a promising career. Barbara Bates. Barbara Bates was born on August 6, 1925 in Denver, Colorado, sparking an early interest in performing arts. In her late teens, she ventured into modeling, which helped her overcome some of her timid nature. A local beauty contest win brought her to Hollywood, where she caught the eye of Cecil Cohn, a United Artists publicist. Their relationship, though complicated, propelled her into the film industry. With Warner Brothers, Bates began landing roles that showcased her wholesome, girl-next-door image. Her notable appearances include brief but memorable turns in popular features like All About Eve. Despite her sweet on-screen persona, she struggled with intense mood swings, health challenges, and deep insecurities. Moves to England and back to Hollywood failed to rekindle her fading stardom. By 1969, personal battles overshadowed any future plans, leading to her final exit from life's stage. Bella Darvi. Bella Darvi's life story was marked by extreme highs and lows. She survived the horrors of a World War II concentration camp during her youth. Seeking normalcy, she later gravitated to Europe's gambling circles in Monaco, where her fortunes wavered. Her life changed drastically when Darryl F. Zanuck and his wife Virginia recognized her exotic presence and brought her to Hollywood, naming her Darvi by combining letters from their own first names. Despite starring in high-profile films like Hell and High Water, her accent and slight speech impediment hampered her progress. She soon became entangled in a scandal involving Mr. Zanuck, straining her benefactor's marriage and cutting short any major Hollywood prospects. Returning to Europe, she took on minor roles but couldn't overcome mounting debts and addictions. In 1971, heartbreak and despair overtook her, drawing her story to a premature, tragic close. Faith Bacon. Faith Bacon, billed by impresarios as the most beautiful girl in the world, was credited with pioneering the fan dance during the Roaring Twenties. Born Frances Yvonne Bacon on July 19, 1910, in Los Angeles, she began her career in Paris without formal dance training. Upon returning to the U.S., she performed in various stage revues, including Earl Carroll's popular shows, although a serious accident involving a glass box left her with lasting scars. Bacon's film appearances were few, most notably in the 1938 crime drama Prison Train. As her stage bookings declined, she found herself relegated to lower-tier venues, battling some personal health issues and financial troubles. In 1954, she attempted to end her pain, only to finally depart from life's stage under devastating circumstances in 1956. Marion A. Marion I showed an early spark for entertaining. Discovered by Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, she joined Balboa Studios as a teenager, although she had fibbed about her age to wed cameraman Sherman Plaskett. Marion pursued dancing and stage work in New York before returning west to become a Mack Sennett bathing beauty. She featured in more than a dozen films, including The Hick and the Weekend Party with Stan Laurel, gradually building a modest but noteworthy career. And being named a Wampus Baby star, her momentum slowed. Her final screen appearance came in the 1930s, Up the River. Struggling with personal setbacks and recurring sadness, Marion sought a fresh start in television auditions by 1951. Heartbreakingly, overwhelming despair overtook her that year, ending her life at just 48. Janette Loff. Janette Loff was born Janette Loff into a musically inclined family of Danish heritage. Growing up partly in Canada she studied voice at the Ellison White Conservatory in Portland, performing in operettas by her mid-teens. Her poised soprano and radiant presence soon led her to Hollywood, and found steady roles in late 1920s films such as Love Overnight and Hold'em Yale. Janette's personal life was colorful, marked by high-profile romances and a brief marriage. She showcased her vocal gifts in King of Jazz. After attempting a Broadway detour, she tried returning to the screen, only to see her career stall. In August 1942, at just 35, Janette passed away after ingesting a harmful substance, leaving an enduring question about whether her final act was deliberate or a heartbreaking accident. Annie Ahlers. Annie Ahlers found her calling on stage from an early age. Performing in the circus by the age of 4, she gained acclaim in operettas at the Volksoper in Hamburg and furthered her career with roles in Krefeld and Breslau, where she flourished in Paul Abraham's Die Blume von Hawaii and other celebrated productions. Between 1928 and 1931, Annie appeared in several films, her enchanting voice drawing attention far beyond Germany's borders. An engagement in London followed, but amid growing health challenges, including tuberculosis, she found herself turning to alcohol and medication. In March 1933, her final days took a tragic turn when she ended her journey by falling from a window, just as her star seemed destined to shine in Europe's spotlight. Mary Nolan. Mary Nolan entered show business as a teenage model with a cheerful moniker, Bubbles. Showman Florin Ziegfeld recognized her appeal, featuring her in his legendary Follies. Unfortunately, a tumultuous relationship with married comedian Frank Tinney, tarnishing Mary's reputation and prompting her to seek fresh opportunities in Europe under the name Imogene Robertson. She later returned to Hollywood as Mary Nolan, landing roles alongside top names like Lon Chaney in West of Zanzibar and appearing in gangster flicks like Young Desire. While she displayed potential, personal troubles plagued her progress, including health complications, heartbreaks, and an increasing reliance on narcotics. By the 1930s, her career had faded, and she retreated from public life. At just 45, Mary was discovered lifeless after taking a fatal quantity of medication, marking a sorrowful end for a once promising screen beauty. Lupe Velez. Born Maria Guadalupe Villalobos. Lupe Velez sparkled with a boundless personality and vivacious spirit. Sent to Texas for schooling, she soon realized her calling lay in performance. Returning to Mexico, she showcased her dance skills to support her family. Hollywood beckoned in 1927 when F.W. Murnau introduced her to the industry, leading to comedic roles and collaborations with the likes of Laurel and Hardy. Fearless and magnetic, Lupe seamlessly shifted from drama to comedy, with her greatest success arriving via the Mexican Spitfire film series. Known as much for her fiery personal life as for her on-screen flair, she married Johnny Weissmuller amid a flurry of high-profile romances. Diminished film offers and romantic turmoil weighed heavily on her. In December 1944, overwhelmed by heartbreak and uncertainty, she brought her own story to a devastating close at 36. Phyllis Haver. Phyllis Haver ventured west with her family and found a job playing piano in a movie theater. Noticed by producer Max Sennett, she became one of his famous bathing beauties, captivating audiences with her curvaceous figure and golden hair. Phyllis earned roles alongside Buster Keaton in The Balloonatic and Ben Turpin in A Small-Town Idol, among others. Her definitive triumph was portraying Roxy Hart in the silent-era adaptation of Chicago. At the height of her fame, Phyllis surprised everyone by retiring in 1929 after marrying millionaire William Seaman. The couple enjoyed years of luxury in New York, but ultimately divorced. Withdrawn from public life in Connecticut, she faced profound loneliness. In November 1960, deeply despondent, she chose a fatal path that brought her chapter to a close at the age of 61. Ona Munson. Ona Munson was a stage natural from an early age. By 14, she was performing in vaudeville in New York, quickly progressing to the Broadway spotlight in shows like George White's Scandals and No. Her vivacious aura landed her screen roles in early 1930s Hollywood, where she worked with luminaries such as Edward G. Robinson and Claudette Colbert. Despite romances and a string of prominent friendships, her defining film role was Belle Watling in Gone with the Wind, an iconic turn that simultaneously showcased her allure and led to typecasting. Off-screen, her personal life was marked by complex relationships and a desire for deeper fulfillment. Struggling with health issues and mounting despair in the 1950s, Ona gradually slipped from public view. In February 1955, the weight of her troubles resulted in a heartbreaking final exit at 51.13. Joan Dowling. Joan Dowling was a spirited performer from the start, cultivating her craft through pantomimes and stage appearances in England. By 14, she caught the attention of theater professionals. By 17, she signed her first film contract. Largely self-taught, her natural talent found a fitting home at Ealing Studios, where she shone in supporting roles during the late 1940s. One of her most notable credits was Hue and Cry, where she met Harry Fowler, her future husband and fellow Ealing regular. While Joan's warmth and promise suggested a bright future, behind the scenes, she wrestled with emotional hardships. By 1954, her struggles reached a peak, culminating in a tragic decision that ended her life at just 26. Though her filmography may be brief, her vivacity and eagerness to explore the craft endure as a testament to the passion she brought to every role, both on stage and on screen. Florence Lawrence. Florence Lawrence achieved a significant milestone in film history. She was the first performer whose name was featured to promote both her roles in her studio. Known initially as the Biograph Girl, she showcased her talent under the direction of D.W. Griffith after honing her skills at various early studios. Her transition to IMP in 1909 demonstrated her star power, as producer Carl Laemmle used her public appearances for strategic publicity. Florence's fame helped shift the industry's attitude about crediting actors by name, ushering in a new era of stardom. Despite notable successes on screen, her career faced setbacks when she suffered a serious back injury during a stage accident. Although she tried to reignite her momentum in later years, in 1938, after bouts of illness and sorrow, her journey ended under heartbreaking circumstances. Phyllis Barry. Phyllis Barry was born Gertrude Hilliard on December 7, 1908, in Leeds, England. Her flair for dance and stage performance emerged early. By 14, she had joined an Australian cabaret troupe, appearing in musicals like No, No, Nanette, and Lady Be Good. Rechristened as Phyllis Barry, she caught attention in 1925's Australian film Painted Daughters. A U.S. stage tour of Rio Rita led Hollywood producer Samuel Goldwyn to offer her a role in Sonara. She made a splash in 1933 opposite Buster Keaton in What No Beer, and continued with supporting parts in Blind Adventure and Forbidden Heaven. Her marriages, however, were turbulent, and a waning screen career left her in smaller roles, including bit parts in Three Little So and So's in Waterloo Bridge. By the late 1940s, she had withdrawn from acting. In 1954, following ongoing difficulties, her final chapter closed in a tragic way. Dorothy Abbott. Dorothy Abbott initially grabbed attention as a chorus girl in splashy Los Angeles and Las Vegas revues, earning nicknames like the Girl with the Golden Arm. Paramount took notice, granting her a contract that positioned her in a host of bit parts: glamorous party guests, chorus dancers, and models. Often highlighted for her dynamic smile and lively presence, Dorothy's film appearances included small roles in comedies and dramas throughout the late 1940s and early 1950s, along with stage and real estate ventures on the side. On television, she took on occasional guest spots, including a recurring part on Dragnet. Despite her outward vivacity, personal heartache overshadowed her later years. A rocky marriage to officer-turned-actor Rudy Diaz ended in divorce. In December 1968, at 47, Dorothy's life concluded tragically, a sad end to an otherwise spirited screen presence. Clara Blandick. Clara Blandick was born in 1880 under unusual circumstances on an American ship near Hong Kong. She entered acting through stage work, including roles in E.H. Southern's productions, and didn't transition to films until her early 30s. Initially cast in silent pictures, she eventually found greater success with smaller but memorable supporting roles. Her best-known portrayal came in 1939 as Aunt Em in The Wizard of Oz, a part that gave her enduring cinematic recognition. Despite appearing in more than 100 films, Clara always considered stage acting her primary calling. She continued to accept film roles through the 1940s, even as her health declined. Struggling with arthritis and diminishing eyesight, he withdrew from acting in 1950. In April 1962, having endured persistent medical burdens, she made a profound decision to leave life on her own terms, leaving behind a cherished legacy in Hollywood history. And Gladys Frazin. Gladys Frazin first made her mark on Broadway in productions like The Masked Woman and White Cargo. With an expressive face and vivacious energy, she captured media attention and graced the cover of the National Police Gazette. A series of marriages followed, including one to actor Douglas Gilmore. Moving to London, she married comedian Monty Banks, who adopted her son, and they co-starred in The Compulsory Husband. Though Gladys had steady appearances in British films, stardom remained elusive. In the early 1930s, personal turmoil mounted, worsened by health challenges and a nervous breakdown that led to a brief disappearance. She grappled with deep emotional pain and faltering well-being. The burden of her struggles culminated in a devastating final decision. Inger Stevens. Inger Stevens endured a difficult childhood after her mother left the family, eventually moving to the United States as a teenager. Strikingly shy, yet artistically driven, she pursued acting in New York, appearing in commercials and off-Broadway shows. Hollywood soon noticed her dramatic talent, leading to roles opposite Bing Crosby in Man on Fire, and later stints in acclaimed television anthologies, including The Twilight Zone. Her biggest TV success came as the Swedish governess Katie Holmstrom on the sitcom The Farmer's Daughter, which ran from 1963 to 1966. Behind her bright smile lay complex personal struggles reflected in brief, often hidden relationships. Post-sitcom, Inger sought mature roles in films like A Guide for the Married Man and Hang 'em High, hoping to transition into weightier material. In April 1970, just as she was set for another promising project, deep personal despair overwhelmed her, ending her story far too soon. Maggie McNamara. Maggie McNamara emerged as a charming and poised actress in 1950s Hollywood. Though her beginnings were humble, born into an Irish-American family, she initially worked toward a modeling career, gracing magazine covers that predicted her cinematic promise. Acclaimed producer Otto Preminger cast her in the stage version of F. Hugh Herbert's The Moon is Blue, a role she later reprised in the 1953 film adaptation with William Holden and David Niven. While some conservative groups condemned the movie's frank humor, Maggie's bright-eyed performance became her signature. She continued acting in a handful of film and television roles, but her career never recaptured the same momentum. Balancing personal challenges and financial strain, Maggie was supporting herself as a typist by the 1970s, harboring unrealized hopes of reviving her writing ambitions. Ultimately, her final days were overshadowed by deep despondency, which tragically culminated in a heartbreaking end to her life in 1978. Peggy O'Neal. Peggy O'Neal found early fame by winning a beauty contest at 18. Aspiring to a Hollywood career, she secured a starring role in 1944's Song of the Open Road, receiving warm publicity as a bright new talent. Critics lauded her fresh appearance and potential, yet her personal life moved quickly as well. She impulsively married Army officer Lloyd Minor in January 1945, but the relationship soon faltered. While entertaining a promising opportunity for a long-term contract with Paramount. During this period, she pursued a serious romance with screenwriter Albert Mannheimer. However, a severe disagreement unsettled her, fueling the sense that her rapidly unfolding life had become overwhelming, tragically bringing a sudden and sorrowful close to her journey at only 21. Nora Lane. Nora Lane, originally Nora Bennett Schilling from Chester, Illinois, ventured into modeling before setting her sights on Hollywood. By 1927, she was appearing in small silent film roles under the surname Lane. Among her 80-plus screen appearances were noteworthy performances in early westerns, including a memorable turn as Zerelda in Jesse James. She also shone in The Cisco Kid in Western Frontier, where her portrayals of spirited independent women garnered positive reviews, alongside co-stars Warner Baxter and Edmund Lowe, without injury. In 1941, following a series of modest successes, Nora decided to retire from the screen and married Burdette Henney. Their life together seemed happy until a sudden tragedy struck in 1948, leaving her overcome by grief. Within a month of heartbreak, She took a final, irrevocable step away from the world. Christine Maple. Christine Maple, originally Christine Raphael, was born on November 16, 1912, in Belle Plaine, Kansas. Christine displayed a flair for pageantry, competing in national beauty contests before stepping onto the Hollywood scene. Florence Ziegfeld took notice, where she earned the moniker Miss Universe. Her audacity and flamboyant style, including a shocking onstage appearance without attire, despite brief stints in Republic Pictures westerns like The Big Show and Roar and Lead, Christine found herself traveling abroad and grappling with repeated breakdowns. By 1947, unresolved turmoil overwhelmed her once vibrant outlook, gradually eroding her joy forever and leading to her final, heartbreaking farewell. Marie Walcamp. Marie Walcamp nurtured lofty ambitions in a small-town setting. Eager to find bigger opportunities, she ventured to New York, where she soon caught the attention of filmmakers. Her 1913 screen debut in The Werewolf paved the way for a steady stream of silent-era roles. At first recognized for her spirited, adventurous characters, Marie hoped for stronger parts that would highlight her range. Nevertheless, as Hollywood evolved in the 1920s, her presence on screen began to diminish. By the time she starred in her final film, In a Moment of Temptation, her earlier momentum had waned. Away from the camera, Marie battled private disappointments and a longing for more fulfilling opportunities. In November 1936, after a period of profound distress, she faced an irreversible moment of despair. Her legacy remains as a reminder of silent cinema's fragile promises. Helen Lee Worthing. Relocating to Massachusetts, she diligently contributed to the Red Cross during World War I. Her striking beauty led her to join the Ziegfeld Follies in 1921, catching public attention and film offers soon after. Early roles in Enemies of Women and The Other Woman's Story showed promise, with critics praising her screen presence. However, Helen's personal life brought constant challenges. A brutal assault in 1927 led her to the care of an African-American physician, Dr. Eugene Nelson, whom she married, sparking widespread scandal. Shunned by the film industry, her downward spiral included health issues, bankruptcy. Despite attempts to find stability, she struggled with heartbreak and repeated setbacks. In August 1948, Helen's exhaustion from life's pressures prompted a final and sorrowful farewell. Irene Dalton. Irene Dalton was initially a stenographer who answered an ad seeking fresh talent for Christie Studios in 1920. Her petite stature and raven hair made her a favorite in comedic shorts alongside stars. She eventually teamed up with Lloyd Hamilton in hits such as The Vagrant and Rolling Stones. Despite her on-screen effervescence, Irene's private life bristled with difficulties. A turbulent affair with a married millionaire caught the tabloids' attention, leading to sensational allegations. In August 1934, weary of unending strife, she made her final departure. Ruan Ling-yu. Ruan Ling-yu, hailed as China's Greta Garbo, was born Ruan Fengen on April 26, 1910, in Shanghai. Losing her father young, she began acting at 16 to support her mother. By 1930, Ruan had signed with Lianhua Studios, delivering acclaimed performances in Spring Dream, Of an Old Capital, Little Toys, and The Goddess. Captivating viewers with her expressive eyes and graceful presence, she remained in constant media focus. Yet her personal life proved turbulent. A longtime partnership with gambler Zhang Damin, lawsuits and bitter public disputes over finances painted her as a scandalous figure in the press. The tabloids took an especially harsh interest in her private struggles, exacerbating her anxieties. In March 1935, overwhelmed by heartbreak and intense scrutiny, Ruan found no escape from her despair, ending a luminous career at just 24. Joyce Jameson. Joyce Jameson first caught attention as a vibrant stage performer, adept at comedy, song, and dance. Comedic timing and striking looks helped her land small film roles starting in the early 1950s. She often portrayed bubbly, dizzy blondes, though off-camera, she was notably well-read and cultivated. Joyce's big screen appearances included comedic and dramatic fare, such as Roger Corman's Gothic anthology films with Vincent Price and Peter Lorre. On television, she guest-starred in popular shows like The Andy Griffith Show and maintained a recurring role on The Danny Thomas Show. Despite her versatility, Joyce struggled to secure leading opportunities beyond comedic stereotypes. She privately battled personal setbacks and health challenges, revealing a sharp contrast with her on-screen persona. By the late 1960s, these pressures and disappointments intensified, culminating in a sorrowful decision that abruptly ended her bright yet underappreciated journey. Vera Sisson. Vera Sisson studied at Denver's Brownlee Collegiate School for Girls before heading to California to pursue film work. Scoring her first screen role in 1913's The Helping Hand, she quickly became a reliable presence in westerns opposite J. Warren Kerrigan. Interviews reveal she dreamed of opening her own production studio. In 1916, Vera married director Richard Franchot, with whom she shared a fervent partnership. A shift to biograph in 1915 brought new collaborations, and she later appeared alongside Rudolph Valentino in The Married Virgin. However, life's harsh turns tested her resilience, especially following her husband's untimely passing in 1953. Despair weighed heavily in the aftermath, culminating in a final resolution that brought her enduring struggles to an end.